Today we will talk about the inguinal region. Okay, what are the structures in the inguinal region? The inguinal canal, inguinal ligament, and the most important clinical condition, that is hernia. Okay, so let's start with the inguinal region or groin. So what is or which portion of our body is called inguinal region? The inguinal region is the junction of the anterior abdominal wall and anterior aspect of the thigh. So the inguinal region is nothing but an area where what is the junction between the anterior abdominal wall and the anterior aspect of the thigh. So this area is the inguinal region. Now come to what is the extension. Usually the inguinal region, it extends from the anterior superior iliac spine up to the pubic tubercle. So this area is the inguinal region. Clinically, this inguinal region is very important because of two view. In two respect, it is very important. The number one is the anatomical view, and number two is the clinical view. The clinical view, we already told you, clinically this region is very important because the hernia, most of the hernia usually takes place in this region. Okay, and later on we will talk about two important hernia. One is inguinal hernia, another is femoral hernia. Beside this, there are various types of hernia such as incisional hernia, umbilical hernia, epigastric hernia, and so on. And among all the hernia of our body, 75% of the hernias is of inguinal type. So the inguinal hernia, it constitutes 75% of the all hernias in our body. So inguinal hernia is most important, and we have to know ins and outs of this inguinal hernia. Okay, so later portion we will learn about this. Now, what is the anatomical importance of this inguinal region? The inguinal region acts as a passage of various structures that causes exit from abdominal cavity to the lower part of the body, and as well as the some portion or some structures, they enter into the abdominal cavity through this inguinal region. So what are the structures that causes entry or exit through the inguinal region into the umbilical cavity? Let's see. The number one structure is the iliacus muscle. If you see from this another picture, it would be more easier. Okay, so we're talking about the structures that causes entry and exit through the inguinal canal into the abdominal cavity. So what are they? These are the iliacus muscle, psoas major muscle, and femoral nerve and femoral vessels. Okay, so you can see the iliacus muscle here. Iliacus muscle, the most lateral one, the red one, is the iliacus muscle. Then medially, psoas major muscle. Then you can see the femoral vessels and femoral nerve. Okay, so these structures, they passes through the inguinal canal. Now come to the, so what are the structures in the inguinal region? In the inguinal region, we will talk about the most important two structures, that is inguinal canal and inguinal ligament. Okay, so let's start with the inguinal ligament. So which one is the inguinal ligament? Look at that. This green portion is the inguinal ligament. Okay, so what is it? Inguinal ligament is a thick fibrous band which extends from the anterior superior iliac spine up to the pubic tubercle. Okay, it is a thick fibrous band extend from the anterior superior iliac spine up to the pubic tubercle, and it is formed by the lower free border of the external oblique aponeurosis. While we studied about the muscles of the anterior abdominal wall, we know in the third layer of the anterior abdominal wall, that is the external oblique muscle with its aponeurosis. The aponeurosis of the external oblique abdominis muscles, they fold inward and become thickened. They fold backward and become thickened and form a ligament. This is known as the inguinal ligament. Okay, so the inguinal ligament is nothing but the thickened and backward folding of the aponeurosis of the external oblique abdominis muscle. So this is the inguinal ligament. Now we will learn about the attachment of the inguinal ligament. What are the structures that are attached to the inguinal ligament? While we studied the muscles of the anterior abdominal wall, we talked about the internal oblique muscle and transversus abdominis muscle. The internal oblique abdominis muscle, it attached to the lateral two-thirds of the inguinal ligament. While we studied the internal oblique muscles, we saw that the lateral two-thirds of the lateral two-thirds of the inguinal ligament, here there was attachment of the internal oblique abdominis muscles, and lateral one-third there was attachment of the transversus abdominis muscle, and in the middle third there is a attachment of the cremasteric muscle. We didn't tell about the cremasteric muscle, later we will tell you. So middle one-third, there is cremasteric muscle is attached, and the inferior surface, there is attachment of a deep fascia of the thigh. This is known as fascia lata. So deep fascia of the thigh, the name is fascia lata. It is attached to the inferior surface of the inguinal ligament. So what are the attachment? In the lateral two-thirds, internal oblique. So the lateral two-thirds, there is internal oblique abdominis muscle attached. Lateral one-third, there is transversus abdominis muscles attached, and middle one-third, cremasteric muscle is attached, and in the inferior surface is attached with the fascia lata or deep fascia of the thigh. Now come to the extension. The inguinal ligament has various extensions or expansion. Okay, the inguinal ligament has various expansion or extension. That means it is swelled in various areas and named as different. So what are they? What are the expansions of the inguinal ligament? These are the lacunar ligament, pectineal ligament, and reflected part of the inguinal ligament. In the picture you can see this expanded part of the inguinal ligament. This is lacunar ligament. This is the reflected part of the inguinal ligament, and this is the pectineal ligament. You can see this is the pectineal ligament. So lacunar ligament, pectineal ligament, and reflected part of the inguinal ligament. These are the three expansion or extension of the inguinal ligament. Now you have to know about the subinguinal space or pelvifemoral space. Subinguinal, that means just below the inguinal ligament there is a space. We will know about this space and the structures passing through this space. So the space between the inguinal ligament and the hip bone is called pelvifemoral space or subinguinal space. So subinguinal space. It is nothing but a space between the inguinal ligament and hip bone. This space is known as the subinguinal space or pelvifemoral space. This space has two parts: large lateral part and medial small part. We'll see later. Okay, so this is the subinguinal space. It has a two part. We can divide the content into two part. Large lateral part is known as the lacuna muscularum. That means it is composed of muscle. You can see this is the large lateral part. It is composed of the muscle. You can see the iliacus muscle, psoas major muscle, and small medial part. And small medial part is called lacuna vascularum. Lacuna vascularum. That means it is composed of mainly vessels. So lateral part is mainly composed of the muscle, and medial part is mainly composed of the blood vessels. So what are the components of the lateral part? You can see iliacus muscle, psoas muscle, and femoral and lateral cutaneous nerve of the thigh. So you can see iliacus muscle, psoas muscle is not shown here. Yes, the psoas muscle, iliacus muscle, psoas muscle, and femoral nerve and lateral cutaneous nerve of the thigh. So this is the femoral nerve and this is the lateral cutaneous nerve of the thigh. So you can see two muscle, iliacus and psoas major, and two nerve, femoral nerve and lateral cutaneous nerve of the thigh. And in the medial part, the vascular part, we can see the external iliac vessels mainly. Okay, the external iliac vessels which was in the abdomen, which when come into the groin or inguinal lesion, they are named as femoral vessels, femoral artery and femoral vein. Okay, as well as a femoral canal. Okay, so in the medial, small medial part, vascularum part, here the mainly blood vessels go. What are they? This is the femoral artery and femoral vein mainly. So you can say femoral vessels. So this is the subinguinal space. So the question may come like this: what are the contents that goes, what are the structures that goes below the inguinal ligament? This is the inguinal ligament, this is the subinguinal space. So the question may arise: what are the contents that go below the inguinal ligament, or what are the contents or structures that passes through the subinguinal space? So the answer is the same. Okay, below the inguinal ligament or through the subinguinal space, the contents are the same. Lateral part there is muscular part, and medial part there is vascular part. Okay, now we will come to the our next point, that is the inguinal canal. Okay, so let's start the inguinal canal. Inguinal canal, what is it? The inguinal canal is an oblique canal So we're talking about the inguinal canal. So what is inguinal canal? Inguinal canal is an oblique intermuscular passage in the lower part of the anterior abdominal wall, and it lies above and parallel to the medial half of the inguinal ligament. So let's see, this is the inguinal canal. The red one is the inguinal canal. It is an oblique intermuscular passage in the lower part of the anterior abdominal wall, and it lies parallel to the inguinal ligament, parallel and to the medial half of the inguinal ligament. So this is the inguinal ligament, and it lies parallel to the inguinal ligament as well as parallel to the medial half of the inguinal ligament. Okay. So this is green one is the inguinal ligament, and look at that, this is inguinal canal. It is located parallel to the medial half of the inguinal canal, inguinal ligament, sorry. And what is its length? The inguinal canal is usually 4 centimeter in length. And what is the direction? The direction of the inguinal canal is downward, forward, and medially. Downward, forward, and as well as medially. So you can remember like this, DFM or Dhaka FM. Now, why this inguinal canal is formed? What is the reason of this formation of this inguinal canal? It is formed due to the descent of the testis or ovary, that means the gonad, into the scrotum or pelvis during the fetal development. Okay, so what is the reason of formation of this inguinal canal? Due to the descent of the gonads, that means testis or ovary. Testis ultimately descend and goes to the scrotum, and ovary descend and ultimately go to the pelvic cavity. And due to descent of these gonads into the scrotum and pelvis respectively during the fetal development, during the embryonic life, due to their descents through the from abdomen to the pelvis or abdomen to the scrotum, due to their descent, this inguinal canal is produced. Actually, if we talk about the testis was in the fetal period, the testis was located in the abdomen, and when the baby grows up, when the fetus grows, these testis descends slowly and passes through this inguinal region and form the inguinal canal, and ultimately go outside the abdomen and remain in the scrotum. And one structure, that is governaculum, it is attached to the lower pole of the testis, and this governaculum helps to descend the testis and to get it into its normal anatomical position. So what is governaculum? The governaculum is a fibromuscular band which connects the lower part of the gonad, such as testis, and which connects lower part of the gonad to the labioscrotal swelling, and it helps in descent of the gonad. And in adult life, this governaculum, the remnant of the governaculum, remain as round ligament of the in the female. Okay, so this remnant of the governaculum in the adult life is round ligament.